Rebuilding a Stuart Major beam engine, part 13. Working on the baseboard and engine mounting, drilling some holes in the baseboard to attach the brick plinth assembly, varnishing the baseboard and the brickwork to seal it. Shortening some 2BA bolts to make bearing mounting studs. Now what I haven't done in this one is shown the sticking on of the planks. I've covered this in other videos, so you should be able to look at those and see how I do it. I use cyanoacrylate adhesive or CA glue or whatever you wish to call it to stick the planks down. What I'm doing at the moment is marking out to drill 6 holes in the base to allow me to screw this base to the main mounting plinth, the one with the bricks on it. This is the underside of the board, and I'm using a countersink in the drill to countersink the holes. I'm going to use some brass screws to fasten these parts together. Even though they're not going to be seen underneath the baseboard, I can be assured that they're never going to go rusty, and I'll probably use one of these cutter screws to drill a pilot hole first. But before I can screw these two parts permanently together, I need to varnish the mahogany. I'm using Ronseal hard glaze as usual, applied with a cloth. I don't want a massive glossy finish, I need like a floorboarding finish. Almost like waxing, but using a polyurethane varnish so it's more durable and very waterproof. So what I'm doing at the moment is varnishing the brickwork. It's no good leaving the brickwork just as brickwork, because the oil staining from the engine will look bad. So I'm giving the brickwork a really good coat of polyurethane varnish. I'm applying it with a brush, which I don't normally do, but I'm trying to make sure that it goes into the gaps between the brick and seals the mortar as well. But as usual, once I've brushed on the polyurethane varnish, I wipe it off with a cloth. And then, to make sure I haven't missed any parts of it, I go over it again with the paintbrush. And then I wipe it off with the cloth. And I keep repeating this process until the whole surface is covered the way I want it to be covered. And once I've done one side, just for something completely different, I turn the thing round and I do one of the ends. Again, initially I'm applying quite a lot of varnish. I don't need to tell people how to varnish, but you will be surprised how many steam engines I get in that are really badly painted or varnished. And that is why I often apply the varnish with a brush and wipe it off with a cloth, and eventually the cloth gets soaked in the varnish and smooths everything out. Try it, you'll see how easy it is. But do make sure that you wipe off the surplus varnish and wipe it off evenly. What I'm doing here is varnishing the baseboard, and I'm varnishing the main part, the middle bit, where the plinth sits. And the reason for doing this is to just waterproof it in case any water ever runs down the side of the engine. And now quickly, before anyone complains, here's a little bit of engineering. This is the eccentric strap, and this is an Allen key. And what I've done is I've drilled a hole in the end of the eccentric strap, which will allow me to adjust the position of the eccentric sheave on the crankshaft. This is to allow minute advancing and retarding of the timing. Because sometimes, if it's a display engine, you want it to be not quite perfect. You want it to be a little bit lazy so it goes over easier over top dead centre. So you can make minute adjustments by doing this without having to remove the eccentric strap every time you want to do it. And finally, before I forget, it's that time where I need to fit the M6 grub screws into the flywheel, ready for mounting the flywheel on the crankshaft. It's time to thread the top of the pedestal. I'm tapping the holes to take the studs which will hold the outer main bearing in place. Whenever you're manually tapping a hole in a piece of metal, it's a case of 2 turns inwards and 1 turn outwards. If you don't do that and just power into the hole, you do stand a chance of getting the tap stuck and then it will snap off, and that is not good. If you don't have much experience with taps, what I recommend you do is make a jig, and it's just a little piece of bar turned in the lathe with a hole drilled down the middle, which will allow the tap to pass through, and that will keep the tap perfectly square with the hole. If you go into a hole like this at an angle, you're also likely to snap off the tap. So once the hole is tapped, I then turn the pedestal upside down and, pardon the pun, I tap the pedestal on the bench to clear all the swarf out of the hole. So now I have a pedestal with holes drilled in the bottom to mount to the mounting base and 2 threaded holes at the top. The top holes, of course, don't go all the way through. So what I need to do now is to make a couple of studs. I could either buy a long length of studding, which is quite expensive, or just machine down a couple of bolts, so I chose the latter option because it's cheaper and quicker. It's over to the lathe just to remove the head of the bolt. This steel is particularly hard stuff and it's quite difficult to cut through, but my little old Boxford seems to make short work of it. And here we have the finished pedestal with its studs fitted, and this is the top bearing going onto the studs. And those of you who are following this should now notice that the top cap is on the wrong way round and the main bearing itself is not machined equally at both ends. I will do something about that, but not for the moment. I need to carry on with the video. What I'm doing here is clamping down the crankshaft in the bearings. I need the crankshaft to be in its finished position here. So the first thing I do is tighten the main bearing on the bed plate, and this will hold the crankshaft in its proper position. Then I slide the pedestal bearing onto the crankshaft, and then also tighten the top cap on that bearing to hold it in position. And then I notice that the pedestal has been lifted off the baseboard, and this is a general idea, and if my measurements are correct, this should be 1/8 of an inch, and these are temporary 1/8 of an inch pieces of mahogany underneath the pedestal. I will probably change these packings for a piece of steel later on to give the pedestal a larger footprint on the base. After slackening off the top caps and giving them a bit of lubrication, I can spin the flywheel to see how concentrically it's running. I have of course just gently pinched at one of the grub screws. The whole crankshaft is oscillating from side to side. That will be put right when I put the packing pieces in, but the flywheel is going to spin quite true. If you take another look at video number 1 of the series, you'll see how wobbly the flywheel was originally. I've mentioned in previous episodes that the hole in the flywheel is slightly larger than the crankshaft. The hole in the pulley is perfect, it's an absolutely perfect fit, and it's running extremely true, but the flywheel is still wobbling very, very slightly. But I must say at this stage I've only gently nipped at one of the grub screws, not both of them. Because there are 2 grub screws opposite each other, it allows for some adjustment. What I intend to do is give the inside surface of the centre hole of the flywheel a slight coat of paint. This will help it centre on the crankshaft. Then all I have to do is nip up the grub screws from each side to perfectly align it, and it should spin very well indeed. It's not bad now, and it's a lot better than it was before I took it all apart. So here we have it, it's starting to look like a beam engine again. In the next episode it's time to fix certain things permanently in place and assemble the Watt's parallel motion. Thanks for watching, I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists, and by doing that you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists you can actually watch the videos back to back.